Hello, people. Have you ever took a step back in your life and you asked yourself, what's happening? What's becoming of us? Now, you may have said that about a family, of a job, or I'm talking about America. Have you ever stepped back and just looked around at America? Looked outside your window, see that every single time there's a different house and a different neighbor. But have you ever really said to yourself, what's happening to America? Okay? I did that yesterday when the results from the Kentucky election came out and Tom Massie lost. Now, I'm not even a Kentuckian. I don't live in Kentucky. But I was watching this election because it was just more than someone running for re-election. This election had consequences to show me, to show the world what's really important politically in our country now. I mean, Thomas Massie, for all good intents purposes, he was a good man. I mean, not only a good man, he was a good Republican. Thomas Massie was somebody you would consider to be a Republican's Republican. He cared about all the things that Republicans say they care about: lower government spending, America First policy, cutting back on the government's uh, involvement in state affairs, all of those things, military, all of it. He was a Republican. And if you looked at his voting record, you would see that the things that Thomas Massie voted for were all Republican issues. I mean, he never strayed away from his party. He believed in what it meant to be a Republican. And I have to be honest with you. There are few Republicans at first that when I started to look at them that I would have said, you know what? I can see myself voting for someone like that. I remember when the first Trump primary came to play, I felt that about Marco Rubio. I felt that maybe about Billy Graham. I listened to these guys and they said all the right things. And where Thomas Massie was concerned, he was somebody that if I did live in Kentucky, I would have voted for. Yet still, this man lost in the most costly primary in America's history. More than almost $40 million was launched against Thomas Massie to lose. And to elect a person who I'm not really sure if the Kentuckians understood that his opponent wants to bring back the draft. That his opponent, the person that Kentucky elected, wants to put a bill in to bring back the draft to take Kentuckian sons. And yet they voted for this man, or did they? The count shows that most of the people who voted, these were mail-in ballots. Mail-in ballots that our president says are illegal. Mail-in ballots that he's trying to stop. Yet, it was the bulk of mail-in ballots that got Thomas Massie ousted. I don't understand that, and I don't understand why he lost. You know what? You can throw money into a campaign, but if the people get behind you, there's nothing that could have stopped Thomas Massie. That's the truth. So why weren't the people behind Thomas Massie? What did he do to fail Kentucky? If you look at Thomas Massie's voting record, you'll see Thomas Massie did nothing wrong. He did nothing to fail Kentuckians. He was a Kentuckian's Kentuckian. And so then I have to ask myself, what flipped? I mean, what went wrong that Kentucky turned against their own? And the only answer, obviously, is Donald Trump. But there's another answer as well. You see, Donald Trump made it his life's mission, he's got so many of them, to make sure that Thomas Massie was primaried, to make sure that Thomas Massie would not be reelected. But why? Again, he was a Republican. He voted all the time for Trump's policies. So what would cause Donald Trump, our president, to all of a sudden declare that Thomas Massie is no good? He's a bum. His family's bums, and we got to get him out. And for him to call upon his loyal Kentuckians to oust Thomas Massie. There's only one thing that he did to get Thomas Massie to get angry at him, and that was the fact that Thomas Massie broke ranks with the Republican Party, and he went across the aisle to the Democrats to support them in the Epstein Act, the release of the Epstein files. So this was so crucial to our president that he could not forgive Thomas Massie for, and apparently Kentuckians couldn't forgive him for. Why would Kentuckians be against a man that wanted the release of files that would show who the elite were that abused and mistreated and trafficked young girls? Not young women, but young girls. Why would the Kentuckians be against that? Or were they? Excuse me, tongue-tied. I just ate something hot. My tongue is just blah, blah, blah. But you know, I've got to ask myself, do they understand what they did? Like, I mean, did the Kentuckians wake up the next morning and say, oh shit, Massie lost? I mean, did people not come out and vote for him? Did people not support him? Did people just say, you know what, it's a shoo-in, nobody even knows who this other guy is? Or were they just paid off? Or is the election illegal with all these mail-in ballots? Or is there something afoot here? We can say that mail-in ballots and something's afoot when it comes to the 2016, when it comes to Biden, when it comes to everybody else. But this is a Republican election, and mail-in ballots primarily were the issue. Do they understand that Thomas Massie was the only Republican that never took a dime from AIPAC, which is Israel's lobbying? That every other Republican took money from AIPAC for the support of Israel. AIPAC bought the favor of everyone on the Republican Party except Thomas Massie. And Thomas Massie was the one who was saying, we need to cut the financial cord with Israel because America's in debt. So we just can't do this anymore. And somehow AIPAC and another person put in over $40 million to get this guy out. All because of the Epstein files and all because of Israel. And so with that in mind, you have to understand and you have to say to yourself, what's going on in America? Who's really running and controlling America? Is Israel controlling America? Because they were the first ones. If you look in the Israel newspapers, in the news, they were celebrating this. If you look at AIPAC, they were celebrating this. Of course, we know Donald Trump was celebrating this. He's a vengeful man. But it appears to me that even in his own party, he could not find a friend. He could not find people in his party to say, you know what? We're going to back you because we know what kind of a man you are, what kind of American you are. But that didn't matter. So I guess to me, and I sit here in my little place and, I feel like the world is such a bigger place. But you have to ask yourself, where are we going as a country when outsiders can dictate our elections? Where are we going as a state where we would vote for a man that wants to bring back to draft? Where are we going as a state that would get rid of a man that supported Kentuckians from the moment he took office? Where are we going as a country, when the president of the United States can get upset because files were released that would cause his rich billionaire friends harm? I don't know where we're going as a country, but it doesn't look good for America. We've lost our way, and I can see that with this Thomas Massie, but it's bigger than that. The Iranian war, Israel, who is controlling America? What's behind the scenes? I have never been a conspiracy theorist, but I must ask the question after looking at this election, where $32 million or more was spent to get a man elected who swore fealty to AIPAC, swore fealty to Donald Trump, and swore fealty to Israel, and yet said that I'm going to vote to put American young men back in a draft. And the mothers of Kentucky didn't think that that was a problem. And what's happening to our news media, where the news media didn't even bring those things up, but the news media painted Massie as a anti-Semitic because he never took money from Israel, and he said we should stop funding Israel because America is in too much debt. So they painted him as anti-Semitic. He didn't find any support on CNN. He didn't find any support on MS Now. He didn't find definitely no support on CBS News. How can you just cut the truth out of this man's political legacy, and for who and for what? It's no wonder when we think about end times prophecy, when we think about the end days, when you think about the tribulation period, when you think about all the other countries that are named in the Bible, it's no wonder that America is missing. And yet, we just had this return to Jesus big prayer day by the President of the United States, of which no one feels that there's something wrong with a president calling us to pray when he himself never asked God to come into his heart or forgiveness. But more than that, is clearly one of the most vengeful and vindictive presidents in our American history. Is there something wrong with that? Should we be better than that? How do we get back to at least trusting the media? How do we get back to Republicans being Republicans and Democrats being Democrats, and the Republicans supporting their own and Democrats meaning something? Because they're a mess too. I don't know, but I'm telling you, I'm asking myself after that election, and I am not a Kentuckian, what is going on in America? Where is America heading? Who is pulling America's strings? Who has America in their wallet? And where is America going to wind up? I said again, Thomas Massie was somebody I could have voted for. I hope this isn't the last of him, but we'll have to wait and see. That's it. What are your thoughts on all of this? I mean, like, we're so micromanaged in our own worlds, in our own lives, and we have important things going on, that we don't step back to pay attention to something like that Kentucky election that speaks more to where America is and America is going to about Kentucky. Just food for thought. Like and subscribe if you might.